So here's the real question. How do dentists like you, who aren't willing to let insurance dictate how you will run your practice, who want to create incredibly profitable practices without sacrificing your time or sanity, how do you create the strategies to ensure your practice not only survives but thrives in the 21st century? That's the blaring question, and Dr. Steve Schalintz is here to provide the answers. Welcome to Dental Practice Freedom Radio.
What is up, everybody? This is Dr. Steve Schalintz, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of Dental Practice Freedom Radio. And this episode is going to be a little bit different just because I want to piggyback on what we talked about on the last episode, which was all about gratitude. And one of the things that I do is, if some of you may know this, some may not, I am a Inner Circle Bob Proctor consultant. And Bob Proctor was on The Secret, and I discovered his material through, where else do you discover everything these days, YouTube, and started to dig into some of his material and just was blown away. I had been reading Think and Grow Rich at that point, and Bob Proctor was on this chalkboard drawing. It was from like the 80s or 90s, and I was like, who is this guy? But the content was amazing. And that started me on what has now been I want to say a 3-year journey as a consultant. Became one of his top consultants very early on, and I'm still very connected to the material and take a lot of dentists through that process. It's not something that that's not the first point of, if somebody's going to engage with me, that's usually not the first thing that I recommend they do. I think foundationally, from a sales process, is what I work on primarily with dentists, is getting their foundation right. But for the right dentist, that material is life-changing and course-altering. And I've met so many amazing dentists through that process, and have formed mastermind groups with some of these dentists. And I just had a mastermind group last night with a group of 8 dentists, and 4 were on the call last night. And we started talking about the Science of Getting Rich. So there's a program that we were studying together. It was The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, and Bob had done a program on it. And I'd given them the program link, and I said, hey, if you guys are interested, let's do this together. And so everybody's studying this material. And I asked them, what is the most impactful part of the book so far, the program? And to a man, they said the gratitude chapter. So what I want to do in this episode is just go through, because I think it's so important based on what we talked about the other day, expressing gratitude, being grateful for everything in your life, and having it be a habit as opposed to something you say and then you do something that's completely, quote unquote, out of gratitude, the next sentence, right? So as we were going through this, I was, talking about this chapter with them, and they were bringing up some points that they had focused on. And I was reading, I was like, wow, this is, I've read this before probably 30 or 40 times, but because of the podcast I had last time, and then also what they were talking about, I wanted to be able to share this with you. So this is going to be kind of like, when you go to church and they read the sections of the book, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't misquote this. So when you're going through, this is The Science of Getting Rich. This is Wallace Wattles' book. And I highly encourage you, if this message resonates with you, please just reach out to me directly, honestly, because I can get you tuned in to some more of this material. And this is the stuff that I study on a daily basis. As dentists, we want to think of processes and, systems and policies and manuals. And also, I'm going to tell you that stuff pales in comparison to the power of self-development, understanding your mind, understanding how you operate. I'm a much better salesperson now. I'm a much better quote unquote closer now, because I understand myself at a level that I didn't even fathom a few years ago. And I've met some amazing coaches, mentors. Just my life has changed profoundly from that standpoint by studying this material. So Wallace Wattles said, with gratitude, the whole process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word: gratitude. It says, first, you believe that there's one intelligent substance from which all things proceed. Secondly, you believe that this substance gives you everything you desire. And thirdly, you relate yourself to it through a feeling of deep and profound gratitude. So he's already saying that the key to all of this is the gratitude. The gratitude puts you in harmony with the good that you desire. Many people who order their lives rightly in all other ways are kept in poverty by their lack of gratitude. Having received one gift from God, they cut the wires which connect them with Him by failing to make acknowledgement. Now, whether you believe in traditional sense of God or spirit or universe, almost everyone I talk to has some type of center, right? So if I'm saying God here, you can put in whatever, is it God, is it spirit, whatever you want to believe in, right? If you're an atheist and you don't believe in anything, then you believe, if I say God, think nothing, right? So as I'm continuing on, it is easy to understand that the nearer we live to the source of wealth, the more wealth we shall receive. It is also easy to understand that a soul that is always grateful lives in closer touch with God than one who never looks to Him in thankful acknowledgement. When good things come to us, the more gratefully we fix our mind on the supreme power, the more good things we will receive, and the more rapidly they will come. The reason for this is simply that the mental attitude of gratitude draws the mind into closer touch with the source from which the blessings come. It is a new thought to you that gratitude brings your whole mind in closer harmony with the creative energies of the universe. Consider it well and you'll see that it is true. The good things you already possess have come to you because of certain laws. Gratitude will lead your mind out along the ways by which those things come, and it will keep you in close harmony with creative thought and prevent you from falling into a competitive thought. Gratitude alone can keep you looking towards the infinite and prevent you from falling into the error of thinking that the supply of riches is limited, and to think that would be fatal to your hopes. As I'm reading that, there's always this idea, and we've talked about this on other podcast episodes, about this idea of being in a creative or competitive plane. And, Wallace Wattles talks about this in this book, that you can actually get rich through a competitive plane, but it won't last. The true source of lasting wealth is to get into a creative plane, a creative state. And we talk a lot about red oceans and blue oceans and all that stuff. And if you take the more metaphysical approach, a blue ocean is a creative plane. You're creating an economy where there wasn't one, right? Those opportunities are always around us. And when you practice gratitude, you're switching your brain onto a frequency of creation, not on competition. And so there's some science behind why gratitude is so powerful. And so if you are struggling, you need to start to do some things to get yourself into a more creative orientation. I will tell you that I've been in creative orientations and I've been in competitive orientations, and I feel totally different in each one of those states. And so if you're struggling getting into the creative orientation, this is one of the things we talked about last night as a mastermind group. Some people are much more, quote unquote, naturally inclined to be creative. And that's not necessarily the creation that I'm talking about. The creation I'm talking about is identifying a vision of what it is you want and then working in harmony with the laws to get it. And when you're creative, you don't spend time worrying about what other people are doing. You're more focused on this goal. So the simple act of practicing gratitude, as I just alluded to, helps get you into that creative orientation. So, these last two episodes really honestly have all, been about why gratitude is so important and why it's vital. I did my gratitude exercise this morning. It's 6:47 a.m. I'm recording this episode before I go to my practice for a few hours. And I thought it was important that, I wanted to share this with you before I forgot about some of the discussion that we had last night. It was such a great discussion. We spent an hour just chatting about these books, and I love doing that. It keeps me involved in the material, and because I'm coaching some of it, it helps me have a much better understanding of what it is that I'm learning. And I can discuss with people. I highly encourage you to find people that are in harmony with what it is you're thinking and work with them in mastermind groups or coaching, like whatever that is. You've got to stay involved. As a dentist, it's so easy to fall into that trap of not talking to people, right? To just put your head down, do the work, don't worry about it. Typically, team development is absolutely important, but, sometimes you need members outside of your dental team as well to talk about some of these concepts and how it applies to your dental practice. And so even in the mastermind group, I always try to allude to, well, how do we use this in our practice? How do we bring this back to our business? How do we become better as people as a result of this material? And so I want you to mentally be checking in with yourself all the time as you're doing any continuing education. Does this go back and kind of reinforce what it is that we learned in this episode about gratitude? And or does some of this material that I'm learning on a daily basis put me in more of a competitive plane? And if so, is that going to hurt me long term? So hopefully you got value out of this one. And as always, I love reviews. I love ratings. Naturally, it's good. It's a good marketing ploy. I like when I have reviews that are positive on my podcast. So I would really encourage and support that. And thank you for that with advanced gratitude. And if you ever want to reach out to me, do not hesitate to reach out. You can send me a message through Facebook. You can send an email to admin@mountainskycoaching.com. And I encourage you, if you want to engage further on how to create a more wellness-based practice and really take your practice to the next level, you can go to go.mountainskycoaching.com/freedom. That's go.mountainskycoaching.com/freedom. There will be a link on the bio at the bottom in case that's changed. And it gives you a case study that I did on how my practice has changed drastically since I started working not just with the dental practice itself, but some of these laws that I'm talking about and how I can help you do the same. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you at the next one.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode on Dental Practice Freedom Radio with Dr. Steve Schlintz. We'll see you on the next episode.